About half a mile back, on the edge of the common which skirted the road, he came to the spot from which the animal had apparently started. The figure of a man in ordinary riding clothes was lying stretched upon the turf, face downwards and motionless. Goade bent over him, and accustomed though he was to terrible sights, he felt a strange surge of horror at the nature of the injuries to the man's head and neck. He returned to the car, fetched his rug, and after another glance at the prostrate figure, covered it over. Then, with the instinct which belonged to his profession, he looked around for signs of some struggle between the man and the horse. He was puzzled to find none. The turf was nowhere cut up, and soft and yielding though it was, bore only the imprints of the lightest of hoof-marks. The scene of the tragedy was a little inlet of turf, surrounded by gorse bushes, an inlet onto which the horse had presumably turned from the road for some reason. About 20 yards away was a small shed, apparently a shepherd's shelter. There was no human being in sight, nor sign of any vehicle. Goade bent once more over the man's body and felt it with a practised hand. It was still warm. Death could only have taken place a few minutes before. He turned round at the sound of the horse's hoofs, slow now and faltering. The animal had followed him up the hill, and, after standing for a moment shivering on the edge of the road, advanced slowly, whinnied, and thrust its head down as though it recognized its prostrate master. Goade examined once more the wheel on its side, patted its neck gently, and climbed on to a small hillock. The little cloud of dust on the ribbon of road skirting the hillside had vanished. There was no sign anywhere of pedestrian or vehicle. After a few minutes' reflection, he slipped off his shoes, led the horse quietly to the other side of the road, and commenced a closer examination of the little semicircle of turf upon which the accident seemed to have happened. In a quarter of an hour's time he stood upright again and looked around. There was still no sign anywhere of the assistance which was necessary before he could move the dead man. He put on his shoes and made his way along the narrow path towards the shed. Soon after the little cloud of dust upon the hillside had vanished, George Unwin turned in at the drive of his pleasantly situated small country home, brought his car to a standstill at the front door, and rang the outside bell which would summon the chauffeur from the garage. He paused for a moment, drawing off his gloves and looking around him as though enjoying the prospect. A pleasant one enough. A vision of trimly kept lawn with a paddock behind, a profusion of flowers, everywhere signs of well-being and comfort. Humming lightly to himself, he felt one of the back tires, and gave instructions concerning it to the chauffeur, who came hurrying up from the garage. Afterwards he nodded pleasantly to the parlour-maid, who had opened the door in response to his ring, laid his hat and gloves upon the hall-table, and, still humming under his breath, strolled with his habitual air of dignified composure into the room which was given over to him as a study. There was nothing in his manner to denote that within the last quarter of an hour he had committed a brutal murder.